JT.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT, and we had some pretty big information hit the press this morning. I want to go over this with you as soon as possible because it's pretty wild. I'll be honest. Yes, I expected the PlayStation 5 to be powerful. I expected it to have physical media. I expected a lot of upgrades to it. But reading through this article multiple times, I'm still blown away with some of the things they're presenting to the end users with this, the value proposition to the buyers and what it's going to be able to do, and most importantly, how fast it's going to be able to load things. This thing's going to be pretty nuts. It's going to be heavy competition for things like Google Stadia and Xbox's next console, and hell, even the very successful Nintendo Switch right now. As far as the PS5 is concerned, they did not give an official name for it yet. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be calling it that. And most likely it will be named that or something along those lines like the PSV or who knows, PS5, PlayStation 5. Maybe they'll go a completely different direction. I don't know, but doesn't really matter. What is important here is what this thing is going to present to people. As far as the actual console itself, it's going to be coming specifically here. Let me highlight it. A console's CPU and GPU become more powerful, able to deliver previously unattainable graphical fidelity and visual effects. System memory increases in size and speed, and game files grow to match, necessitating larger downloads or higher capacity physical media like discs. Everything that says right there is what this thing is going to come with, especially in the audio department, which is something I don't necessarily think of when I think of a new system, but we'll get into that. Starting with the AMD chip at the heart of the device, and a lot of mumbo jumbo for people who aren't computer junkies here. Talks about the next generation of AMD's Ryzen line, the Zen microarchitecture. Lots of fun stuff going on there for those of you who know what I'm talking about. But for the vast majority of the audience, I'm going to keep this to just what people generally understand so that it makes sense to you. Ray tracing. This is the biggest thing that I could find from this article. What ray tracing presents to the end user. And the immediate benefits are largely visual. It basically mimics the way light bounces from object to object in a scene. Reflecting surfaces and refractions through glass or liquid can be rendered much more accurately, even in real time, leading to heightened realism. According to Mark Kearney, the applications go beyond graphic implications. If you want to run tests to see if a player can hear certain audio sources or if enemies can hear the player's footsteps, ray tracing is useful for that. So the first thing I think of when I hear ray tracing, I'm thinking like Metal Gear Solid, but that's just one of the many different uses for ray tracing. It's something that Hollywood has used on cinematography in order to get the proper light aspect ratio so it looks real. It's very exciting. The AMD chip also includes a custom unit for 3D audio that Kearney thinks will redefine what sound can do in a video game. And like I said earlier, the audio itself, typically it's not something I care too much about going into a new console, because to me, the audio is the audio. It sounds great to me, but yet every system that's come, for the most part, each new unit that we get comes with enhanced sound, enhanced audio, and this seems to take it a lot further. Like, it's a leap ahead in audio quality. Now, it might just be marketing talk to get people hyped for this, but he says the audio is going to be 3D audio. It will make you feel more immersed in the game as sounds come from above, behind, from the side, and while the effect will not require external hardware, it will work through TV speakers and visual surround sound. He allows that the gold standard will be headphone audio, and that will probably never change in our lifetime. Headphones are able to do some pretty crazy things, especially the high-end ones with hearing in different fields and things like that. But to be able to pair that with a console that's made specifically for it is pretty exciting, especially if you consider like VR. And speaking of VR, it goes into how the PlayStation VR is going to be compatible with this PlayStation 5 console, which is exciting for us PSVR owners, but at the same time, a little bit concerning, because my biggest issue with the PSVR is the video quality in the eye lens is not high enough. It kind of doesn't give me a headache or motion sickness, but I can't have it on my head for much longer than 10 to 20 minutes at a time without being, not nauseous, but just being done with it. Like, it's fun, but I gotta take it off and do something else. I just can't keep it on my face all day, every day. It would be nice for them to come out with a PSVR 2 alongside the PS5 and have those work in conjunction with each other. One of my biggest features requests that I would like from a PSVR sequel would be a camera in the front so that you can just press a button and see what's in front of you, so that the screen changes, so that you don't have to lift the eyelids off you so you can find where the controllers are or make sure you're not stepping on anything or anything like that. Other VR units do have that. The PSVR does not. So it would be nice for that alongside much better resolution in the eyelids. You get those two things knocked down, it would be fantastic. Be a gigantic buying proposition for people. It might also be a little bit more expensive, but I think the market for PSVR has opened up enough, and clearly Sony sees it there. They know that it's something that they want to continue. Hopefully it's not like what the Xbox did with the Kinect and how they made a whole new Kinect, and the new Kinect, just, let's be honest, it kind of sucked. I have it and was never really that impressed with it. But it would be nice if Sony was able to use the PSVR and make a sequel headset that was far better than what exists currently. But we'll get back to talking about the PSVR in a little bit because they go into further detail on that. The larger a game gets, the 99 gigabytes for Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4, the longer it takes to do just about anything. This right here is the main feature of the PS5. The biggest selling point of it, to me at least, is the loading screens and fast travel time. This right here, they give an example about how solid-state drives have been available for budget laptops for more than a decade. Xbox One and PS4 both offer external SSDs that claim to improve load times, but not all SSDs are created alike. Kearney points out, I have an SSD in my laptop, and when I want to change from Excel to Word, I can wait 15 seconds. But what's built into Sony's next generation console is something a little more specialized. To demonstrate, Kearney fires up a PS4 Pro playing Spider-Man, a 2018 PS4 exclusive that he worked on alongside Insomniac Games. He's not just a systems architect. Kearney created the arcade classic Marble Madness when he was 19 years old and was heavily involved in the PlayStation 2 franchises like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, and Ratchet & Clank. On the TV, Spidey stands in a small plaza. Kearney presses a button on the controller, initiating a fast travel screen. When Spidey reappears in a totally different spot in Manhattan, 15 seconds have elapsed. 15 seconds. Then Kearney does the same thing on a next-gen dev kit connected to a different TV, and this dev kit supposedly is a low-speed version of the PS5 that will be coming out, and what took 15 seconds now takes less than 1.8 seconds to be exact for fast travel. That's how fast the loading times are for physical hardware going onto this PlayStation 5. That's unbelievable. That is game-changing. That changes your experience playing a game, and when game makers can take this into account, creating experiences, making them lightning quick, smooth as butter, it's going to change how it feels playing a game. It seems like this is going to be one of those mid-gen things where, like the Wii U and the Switch, had games come out for both of them, and same with the end of the Wii to the Wii U. It looks like what Sony's doing with the PS4 to the PS5. There are going to be games coming out for both systems, especially Death Stranding, so that they can sell that to as many people as possible, but clearly the ideal system to buy it for would be the PS5 because of these loading times and graphical capabilities, the lighting effects with all these other things that it's doing, but I digress. But getting back to the SSD, that's just one of the consequences of what an SSD can provide to the end user. There's also the speed of which the world can be rendered, and that's the speed of which a character can move. Just thinking about games like The Flash or Superman, and just thinking about how fast you could travel through the city if they wanted you to, and he even shows that you pause it at any point, even when it's sped up, moving super fast with Spider-Man shooting through the city, and everything is graphically rendered properly. It's not like half rendered because it's moving faster. That is nuts. And on top of all that, it says it's going to support 8K graphics. TVs that deliver it are few and far between, so they were using a 4K TV at this time. But Sony is definitely future-proofing this thing, saying that they want it to be 8K for the PlayStation 5. What else developers will be able to do is a question Kearney can't answer yet because those developers are still figuring it all out. He sees the SSD as unlocking an entirely new age, one that upends the very tropes that have become the bedrock of gaming. We're very used to flying logos at the start of a game and graphic-heavy selection screens, he says, even things like multiplayer lobbies and intentionally detailed loadout processes, because you don't want players just to be waiting. So this is going to skip a large portion of that. Won't be able to really speed up multiplayer lobbies because that depends heavily on internet connections, but everything else, this could be improving the time frame of waiting dramatically. At the moment, Sony won't cop the exact details about the SSD, but the SSD is being made specifically for the PS5. They talk about how they wanted to optimize it, and what they were putting into this would be the best thing they could do for that. This is all hardware talk. Kearney isn't ready to chat about services or other features, let alone games and price, and neither is anyone at Sony. Nor will you hear much about the console at E3 in June. For the first time, Sony won't be holding a keynote. As everyone knows by now, they're not going to E3 this year because they don't really have very much to show or talk about. It's based in part on the PS4's architecture. It'll be backwards compatible with games for that console. That is exciting news for everybody. In fact, it could be a death knell to the system if they didn't do that. So it's good to know it's going to be in line with that. It's going to be a gentle upgrade as far as that's concerned. Numerous new games will be released for both the PS4 and the next-gen console, like I was saying, and they talk about Death Stranding as being one of the biggest one that fits into that process. What gaming will look like in a year or two, let alone 10, is still a matter of some debate. Battle Royale games have reshaped multiplayer experiences. Augmented reality marries the fantastic and real in unprecedented ways. Google is leading the charge away from traditional consoles by launching a cloud gaming service, Stadia, later this year. Microsoft's next version of the Xbox will presumably integrate cloud gaming as well to allow people to play Xbox games on multiple devices. Sony's plans in this regard are still unclear. It's one of the many things Kearney is keeping mum on, saying only that we are cloud gaming pioneers and our vision should become clear as we head toward launch. But it's hard to think there won't be more news coming on that front. For now, there's the living room. It's where the PlayStation has sat through 4 generations and will continue to sit for at least one more. That's nuts. I mean, everything about this article is pretty mind-blowing to me. I know a lot of people might not be too surprised about a lot of these things, but I am. I thought Sony was going to take the PlayStation 5 in a very different direction. I was thinking it was going to be more of a, I hate to say the word copy, but I was thinking it was going to be very similar to the Switch, where you could do both with it, but have some sort of ability to play it in higher resolution on the screen itself on the TV. It looks like Sony is sticking to just the living room with this thing and putting some insane specs to it. 8K gaming. I don't know when an 8K TV is going to be available for the general public, nor how much it's going to cost when it finally gets down to a reasonable price. But this itself, talking about the PlayStation 5 and what's going into it, it sounds like it's going to be extremely expensive. And I wonder if this is something that's concerning to Sony, because Google Stadia is not. It's very accessible to the masses, whereas this is a console that's going to be a gatekeeper that those who only have a lot of money are going to be able to participate in. Honestly, based off of everything that I'm reading here and what's going into this thing, even though technology gets cheaper as time goes on, obviously, this coming out as soon as 2020, I couldn't see it coming in for under $700. Like, honestly, it looks like it might be more than that. If it does come in at, say, $400 or $500, then yes, you're going to have a big audience just like always. Even maybe $600 would be the top end for that. But you get to that $699 price point or the $799 price point where you go to $700 or $800 USD. That's a lot to ask for people when there are other options available out there at that point in time. The Xbox will be out there. Who knows what revisions of the Switch will be out there. And then obviously the biggest market shaker out there right now, Google Stadia. What is that going to present to the end users? How many people are going to involve their lives with that and eat that up and completely trash the rest of console gaming? And there's a lot of questions to be asked here, but it seems like this might actually be the last generation that's a physical console sitting in your living room, at least for a very long time. That's what I'm getting out of this. It's very exciting. It's going to blow people away. It's going to be able to do fantastic things that consoles have never been able to come close to doing in the past. So with all that being said, yes, it's exciting. Will it be successful? Only time will tell. But that's where I'm going to leave this video. This was an excellent write-up by Wired, an exclusive article that they had one-on-one with Mark Kearney, the guy who made the original Marble Madness, is now the system architect for the PS5. It's crazy how things come full circle like that. It's pretty wild. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the PS5, if this is something that's interesting to you, if the price point would be a major barrier to entry for you, or if you're willing to spend whatever it takes to get this thing, assuming it works as well as they're saying it does. There's a lot to be excited about here. This is that fantastic console that a lot of us have been waiting our entire life to have, but is it coming too late? Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash